Hello and welcome to Wingin It. So once again we are back with some more World Cup gameplay and yeah, hoping to continue our strong start. Obviously 3 games so far and 3 wins, so can't complain whatsoever with that, and some strong scores as well. So hopefully we can keep this going. As I said, this is the regional qualifying stage, so just a reminder, we have 9 teams, top 2 are going to go straight through, so that is always the goal. But here we go, we have got the game going here. We're going first, and let's take a look at the starting hands. So yeah, not the most amazing of starting hands, but I think there are definitely some options. So obviously the gnat catcher getting some extra food is going to help, and definitely when you've got food of expert as one of the options of the bonus cards, that's going to come into play as well. But yeah, no real wetland options. So you'll see the common loon in the tray, that is definitely one I am going to think about going for. And yeah, with the first and the round goal eggs in the wetlands, it's kind of doubly important there to be able to just get something down. So obviously the only option in my hand, that American white pelican, not really something I would look at going for. So yeah, you see what I'm kind of thinking here is I can maybe justify the warbler as well. I think definitely if I can get some cards from the loon and then obviously some extra foods from the gnat catcher, then I think it can work. I think it can definitely work here. It can be quite tricky in that first round sometimes to make it work. Obviously, you see that I'm looking at the bird feeder, no fish and no cherries, so playing both the loon and the warbler could be a bit tricky. I might need some extra turns getting food, and I might need some overpaying as well. So definitely on the trickier side, but yeah, I'm thinking I can justify the quail as well. That works quite well with the warbler, just being able to get extra eggs, obviously, when you are laying eggs, to make sure that you are able to play some birds. That is what I'm considering, but I'm kind of going back and forth and trying to work out, is it worth keeping that, or is it worth keeping this bit of extra food, making sure I can have both the cherry and the fish to play the warbler and the loon both together in this first round is going to be nice. So yeah, was a tricky start, was a tricky decision to kind of work out what the right play to go with here is, but you see in the end, I am going to consider going for this quail. And yeah, bonus card, like I said, it was a tricky decision as well. Food Web Expert, I think, works so well with the gnat catcher, quite obviously. But when you do have Oologist, that's quite hard to turn down. So yeah, that is what I'll go with in the end, those 3 birds, and keep the fish. Just to make sure I can get that loon down. That's the priority. I think if I can't make the warbler work in this first round, it's not the end of the world. But if I can't get that common loon down, that is pretty bad. I really need that for some card draw, but as I said, just to make sure I can qualify for the end of round goal as well. So yeah, hopefully I can grab that loon on turn 1 and yeah, get myself set up pretty quickly here. So here we go. My opponent has picked, they've kept 2 birds and 3 foods, and yeah, we are going to grab that loon straight away. And as I said, kind of with the fish obviously being kept and no real wetland birds as an option, I will need to play that. So it's definitely a risk going for common loon early in the game, I won't lie. But I can feel pretty confident my opponent is going to have to play a wetland bird again because of this end of round goal. So yeah, we'll have to play something. So it does mean at least that I should be able to get some activations off it, which yeah, is always the goal. But yeah, for now, as I said, we're going to play the gnat catcher. And yeah, hopefully we can look to get some food and get these other birds down. So we come on to our next turn, and you see my opponent has drawn birds. So they took the red-legged partridge from the tray, which is always a very interesting bird to see played. And yeah, I'm sure they'll try and get that down as soon as possible to really maximise off those extra eggs. But I was put in quite a tricky spot here because you see my opponent on their first turn, they played the Eurasian tree sparrows. So this is one of those new pink powers where when I gain food, if there is a seed in the bird feeder, they can take it. And obviously you'll see there are 2 seeds in the bird feeder, which means that if I do go for food, unless I discard a card, I'm going to be leaving a seed there for them to be able to take. And I really want to avoid that. I've just seen they picked up that bird that needs 3 seeds to be played. So if I'm helping them get that down sooner, that's a real worry. But equally, they might have some nice wetland bird they want to play that's going to need some seeds. And yeah, I always feel really nervous in the early game in particular of allowing my opponent to get some free food. So you'll see what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the quail. It's a very, very short-lived That scaled quail barely even saw the light of day before it got discarded for some food. So I feel like that was the right call. The seeds, they're not great for me at the moment. You'll kind of see nothing in my hand apart from obviously one of those food for the loon. Maybe I can use the seed for that, but it was just such a difficult position, being forced almost into denying the extra seed just to stop your opponent getting it. But yeah, like I said, I feel like that was the right play. And now I do have these 2 seeds. I am definitely looking at this European turtle dove in the tray as an option. So what I'm kind of thinking is, with 5 turns left, I think I have enough turns to play the loon, get the birds and the food, and play the warbler. And obviously, then perhaps I could use the warbler plower to play that European turtle dove. So I've got options for sure, but definitely priority number 1, as I said, is going to be play the loon. Then I can look to lay eggs next turn and hopefully start drawing some cards and kind of see what we can get. And we'll go from the deck obviously and see what we get. But I think as long as that turtle dove is still there, that's definitely going to be an option for me to consider. But you see my opponent there, they are going for food. So hopefully just by denying them that seed, that's kind of made them spend maybe 1 extra turn going for food. But yeah, we are going to lay eggs, as I said. Just really set myself up nicely to go for cards next turn. I'm kind of hoping they play a wetland bird. I did see they had a couple of fish and a worm, so I'm thinking there's quite a lot of wetland birds that are going to eat that couple of fish that they could be looking to play. And obviously for them, they want to be hitting the centre round goal. So they do indeed play a wetland bird. They play the diver. So it's kind of the best of both worlds for me in that it is a wetland bird, but it's not going to really challenge for the end of round goal, seeing as it only has 1 egg space. But as I said, we're going to go for cards, get the common cuckoo, which I think is a good option. Potentially, if they are going to lay eggs with that partridge they picked up, that's going to get me some free ones. And yeah, turtle dove definitely going to be going for that, especially with the kestrel as the other bird I picked up. Not really something I'm going to play, so I know I can feel pretty safe going for food, discarding that, and just making sure I get the extra food as well. So fortunately, nothing really amazing is replaced. But obviously, I did give my opponent a card with the loon, so that's always a bit of a gamble. Maybe they got something really good, but I just really have to hope that it's not better than what I've got. But 2 turns left, and what I'm thinking is I've got a turn going for food here, which is what I'm going to do. Obviously chuck the kestrel, as I said. It's going to give me 3 foods. I can then overpay with that food to get the warbler down. And then I have already taken all the actions. So I can use the extra turn to play the turtle dove. Now obviously that dove is going to cost me the egg on the loon. But the power of the dove, as well as giving me a bonus card, I can choose to either take a food, a card, or an egg. And if I can use that egg to help tie this end of round goal, you see my opponent, they are setting themselves up with some eggs, or at least 1 egg only on their wetland bird. So it is going to be obviously worth getting that egg on the loon to make sure I tie. So there we go, we're going to play the warbler. And as I said, we do still have those couple of seeds. So we can activate the warbler round 1, which I have to say is not something that I am able to do that often. Even if I have something like the warbler in the starting hand, I find it quite tricky to have enough cards and enough eggs and enough food to be able to play something, and for it to be something worth playing as well in that first round. So that was quite satisfying for sure. I really do enjoy playing with these util powers that let you play extra birds. It's quite satisfying. There's something really enjoyable, I think, about being able to plan ahead and sort of meet this criteria and get the extra bird down. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We are going to put it in the grasslands just to sort of help flesh it out a bit. Not a terrible bonus card, Bird Bander. Definitely with the cuckoo as well. That's kind of given me another reason to play that. And hopefully get some free eggs when we do that as well. But here we go into round 2. And Eastern Imperial Eagle is definitely not the bird you want to see in the tray for your opponent. So obviously they've got loads of cards. I'm going to be giving them even more cards with the loon. So yeah, straight away, no messing about. They grab that. It's going to help them this end around, and it's going to help for the next end around. So definitely not a bird you want to see. But again, you've just got to You just got to deal with these things. And yeah, hopefully some good birds come up in its place. I think Grackle and Goshawk are definitely options. Certainly the Goshawk I think is going to be really good for me. Again, kind of like the Eagle. It's going to help this end of round goal and the next one. And I'm definitely going to have some extra cards to be able to tuck behind that. So a couple of really crap birds there, the Jay and the Shrike. So that makes me feel pretty safe in grabbing the Goshawk. You know, I'm definitely going to have at least 2 birds that I am not going to want to play, and that I can instead tuck. So yeah, pretty straightforward for me to grab there. As I said, the Grackle is definitely one I was considering. You know, it obviously helps for my bonus cards. Obviously, maybe helping getting some eggs in the wetlands. So, you know, looking back now, maybe I could have grabbed that, and obviously, you know, look to play that, and then just give me some extra turns, drawing cards, maybe getting some eggs as well. But I think the problem is that I do have this common loon, and you can often find that you're sort of painting yourself into a corner with the loon, where, you know, very naturally, I think in Wingspan you want to be building up your wetlands. You want to get a lot of birds down that can help generate you points or extra resources, maybe get some extra cards. But when you have a bird like the common loon, you're very put off doing that. You know, it really forces you to keep a sort of very minimal wetlands. And I think especially when my opponent, they only had that diver. Again, a bird that works really well kind of as that solo wetland bird. I have no incentive to build up the wetlands, so definitely a tricky one. But yeah, as I said, I'm quite happy to be able to grab this Goshawk, and with the 2 birds in my hand that I definitely don't want to play, I can feel a pretty natural set of turns coming where I'm going to lay eggs. I can play the Goshawk and then go for food. I'm looking to get worms. I can play this common cuckoo, and then obviously I've got plenty of bowl nest space. So that gives me a little bit to plan ahead and kind of do, but it also gives me a bit more flexibility as well to still have that extra turn drawing cards, and then maybe look to find something that I can hopefully play with this Moltoni's Warbler. But yeah, we come here onto the next turn. You see my opponent's still going for cards, so I think probably setting themselves up to play the Eagle. But for us, pretty straightforward. I've got no eggs. I want to play some birds, so I'm just going to lay some eggs. Not the most glamorous of turns, but yeah, it's going to set me up nicely to hopefully get some extra birds down. Obviously, the Goshawk, as I said, is going to be focus number 1, and yeah, then I can hopefully look to get some food, get this cuckoo down, start to set up preemptively a bit of a defense to this partridge that I am definitely imagining is going to come down sooner or later, and just get them a huge number of eggs. So if I can kind of set something up now earlier in the game to prevent that, that's going to be good. So there's the Eagle, as kind of expected. I think they do, you know, obviously look to play that for the end of rounds, and similarly for us, Goshawk is going to go down for the end of round. So these 2 terrible birds can actually find a use and score me some points, save me a bit of food, which is always nice indeed. So yeah, happy to get that down, and then as I said, we can look to maybe go for some cards or get some food. I think I've got a few options here to be working with, which is always good when you're kind of really struggling with the resources that you've got, to at least have options to get some more and kind of assess the situation. That's always what you're really looking for. So here we go, on to the next turn. My opponent going for food, resetting the bird feeder very nicely for me. So that is definitely going to be a tempting option to kind of obviously go and grab the worm that's there, and then get another worm with the gnatcatcher that I've got, and then I can use that to play this common cuckoo as soon as possible. But equally, drawing cards here is quite tempting. I think definitely getting cards before you go for food, so you know what food to go for, is always a good option to have. So we are going to do that, and we're going to get some pretty good draws as well. I definitely like the blue-winged warbler. You know, again, more bowl nest space. If I'm going to play this common cuckoo, some more worms, which the gnatcatcher is giving me, so that feels pretty safe as well. But the bluebird as well is a good pick. So, you know, these double birds, when you've got this food cost of played birds for the 3rd end of round, that's a really, really strong way of getting lots of food cost birds down. So obviously you can kind of save yourself turns, you know, maybe get 4 or even 5 food costs down in a single turn. And especially with this warbler, you know, I could potentially do that at an end of round and really catch my opponent off guard. So definitely one I'm considering. And as well, you know, we've got cherries in the bird feeder. I'm going to get some extra worms with the gnat catcher. I feel like there's a very natural kind of double play I can do there, either into the warbler or even into this bear sparrow. Again, it's a seed there, so I think whenever you can kind of plan the food in the bird feeder around the birds you've got in your hand, you know, thinking what you can take. Again, this is why I was saying it's so important sometimes to go for cards first and then go for food, because then you can really plan around that and think, right, I need lots of worms, but I also need a seed and a cherry. So, you know, you can kind of think carefully about being able to gather the right food that you need in order to really kind of maximize, just your ability to get everything down that you want and score points in the most efficient way. But yeah, here we go. My opponent playing their long-tailed tit, which definitely was not a bird I was expected to see, but I think, if it's going to help them for this end of round, and, you know, maybe if that's the column that they're going to target for the partridge, it has got lots of egg space, so I can definitely see that helping them out. But for us, as I said, we are going to go for food. And definitely by this point, I've sort of got this plan in my head of doing the double play bluebird into sparrow at some point next round. So yeah, I'm going to sort of plan ahead and make sure I have the cherry and the seed for that. And then, I've still got one worm there. I can maybe grab that this round, hopefully get another one on the reroll. And really just set myself up with loads of worms. Obviously, all of these birds I've got to eat worms. I'm going to want to get them all down at some point. So yeah, it's just going to be important to make sure I can get everything I need for that. And so back around to our penultimate turn. You see my opponent laying eggs, so I think quite sensibly they are just going to do that. Make sure they secure the end of round. And hopefully for them they can win that. But for me, I need to lay eggs at some point, right? So it's either going to be this turn or next turn, just to make sure I can hit the end of round. So if I do it this turn, it's going to force my opponent at least to have that extra turn laying eggs to make sure they hit that. And I can still feel pretty safe in being able to get the worm there that's in the feeder on this last turn. And then obviously I've had all the actions already, so this warbler power is going to be getting used. And I think it's probably going to be cuckoo. That's the one that's going to go down. And hopefully get myself some free eggs. But equally, I could look to do the double play. And kind of anticipate that I am going to be laying some eggs next round. Always kind of good to plan ahead there. So we do go for food. We do get the extra worm on the reroll, which is very, very nice indeed. And that sets us up pretty well. We've got lots of food. All the food that we need to be playing at least 3 of these birds, which is definitely the goal. And definitely, next round I can really look to obviously get some extra worms and play the remaining birds. So we are indeed going to go for the double play. So I did kind of think to myself, I've got the extra eggs. I'm not even close to competing for this one. I can happily discard those 2, still qualify, and get that nice double play down, knowing that I do have to lay eggs next round, so I can score some points from that. But here we go into the 3rd round, and what a tray we have for us there. So Atlantic Puffin, absolute dream to see that. No hesitation, I'm going to go straight for that, especially with this Moltoni's Warbler, just being able to play that for free at the end of a round. Real nice kind of option to have. And even this Night Heron as well, again, another big point bird. When you're going for lots of food, it is nice to kind of have that as an option. Helps with this end of round goal, helps potentially for that next one as well with the brown power. So I think whenever you kind of see those kind of brown power big point birds like that, it's a real good bird for me. But if I left that, it's going to be a really good bird for my opponent as well. So it kind of makes sense, I think, to grab that, even if I'm not going to play it, just to stop my opponent from getting it. But of course, it then gets replaced by the red knot, which I think is an equally good option, and probably would have been a better one for me. Obviously, again, eating only worms, I'm going to get plenty of worms through my gnat catcher. So that would have been a nice one, but I'm still happy with the birds I've got. I can definitely still look to get those down this round. So my opponent there gave food, so I think they are setting themselves up very nicely to kind of try and get some big point birds down. Obviously big food cost birds for this round. And for us, obviously need to lay eggs, don't have any eggs. And then it's just about trying to get some of these birds down. So we do still have 2 worms. And I think it's probably going to be the common cuckoo. Just again, these pink powers, the sooner you can get them down, obviously the more benefit you get from them. So if I can look to get that in the forest and then maybe go for food, obviously I can start discarding cards. Probably this little owl is not going to get played, so good to have that option. So my opponent going for food again, so this definitely had me worried. I'm kind of thinking to myself, what kind of, crazy big double or triple play have they got set up for either the grasslands or the wetlands? They've got plenty of space there to be playing birds, so definitely had me worried in terms of what they're going to play. But I mean, if they're going to play lots of birds, they're going to need to lay lots of eggs to do that. So definitely common cuckoo, as I said, is going to go down, hopefully get some free eggs. So there's the partridge. I was kind of waiting for that. I was kind of wondering if that was going to be part of the play here. And yeah, indeed, that is what is going to go down here. So we're going to go for food. I'm still having in my head that they have got this tree sparrow. So if you can stop them getting the seeds, try and do that as much as possible. That's kind of what I'm telling myself. But yeah, we do kind of get some of the food we need on that turn. So obviously fish is kind of in high demand, I think, for me right now. Just in terms of being able to get not only this puffin, but this night heron as well is definitely going to be priority number one for me. But getting those 2 worms was good. I'm kind of planning out these last 2 turns. I'm thinking I can play the warbler and then go for food. And then obviously this Moltoni's warbler will still let me play another bird. And I think it doesn't matter what I get on a reroll. Obviously I'd like some extra fish or maybe a rodent for the night heron, but whatever I get, I could still play that and hopefully target the end round. But yeah, my opponent again plays some more grassland birds. So I am starting to feel like this is a real strong grasslands pivot that they're going for, and they're just going to real try and hammer that, get loads of eggs, and yeah, obviously score lots of points. But hopefully this is where my common cuckoo is going to save me a little bit there. But there we go. Warbler is indeed going to go down. So that obviously helps for this end of round goal. It's going to help get some more food. Helps with the bird band of bonus cards. So yeah, lots and lots of different ways that warbler is going to help me here. So obviously a good play for me to get there. So on to our last turn here, and you'll see my opponent's played the mutes one. So obviously maybe just a bit more egg space for the partridge, but definitely helping them for this end of round goal. So as said, we are going to go for food. We get a fish, but we also get a couple of seeds. So I had a bit of a dilemma here in terms of, do I take the seeds just to stop them from getting them, or do I take the fish because it's going to help me? And in the end, I decided to mess with my opponent. I think I'm always going to have to do a bit of overpaying somewhere. And yeah, if I could stop them getting seeds and just use them for overpaying, that's not a problem. And I know I'm going to need to go for food next round at some point. So that fish is likely still going to be there for me to grab. And I'm thinking I play the night hare in this round, and then when I do go for cards as part of activating the warbler next round, I could potentially use the night heron even as a way of discarding an egg and maybe getting an extra fish that I need for the puffin, or maybe after I draw cards I get something else worth playing. I can really kind of selectively target the food either that I need or that I'm really struggling to get hold of in the bird feeder. So yeah, definitely kind of good to have that option to use that, but really, this night heron is purely going down for the points, but also to help this end of round goal. So yeah, we come here to activating end of round powers, and we are going to get this night heron down big points, use up some of those extra seeds, and yeah, it's going to help win the end of round goal, which is very, very nice indeed. So there we go. We go here into the final round, and yeah, not anything too amazing in the trait, which again, you don't mind seeing, but equally that ibis, could be an option for me. Puffin is going to be the priority, but if I can maybe get enough food, obviously the night heron is going to help out a little bit there potentially. But yeah, it's just going to be all down to what else maybe I draw from the deck. Obviously, if I'm going to use this warbler power, that is going to need one turn drawing cards here. So yeah, obviously it's just going to be about seeing what we can get. But ideally, if I can get something to hit the bird bander, that would be nice. And yeah, oologist should be okay as long as I can have a couple of turns laying eggs. And of course, the pink power of the cuckoo is going to help out as well. So here we go. Comes around to our turn here. And yeah, going for cards, I think that is the sensible thing to do when you're using a bird like the Moltoni's warbler. See what you get first. So we're going to go for a couple off the deck. And when in your time of need, there is no better bird to come up than the indigo bunting. So, yeah, I was very happy to see that. And yeah, that should help me hit the bird bander. And of course, it's another brown power. So that's going to help with the end of round goal as well. So, yeah, night heron, I think this is a good time to use it. Obviously, get some fish. And that's potentially going to help for the puffin. But as I said, I think that ibis in the tray as well is definitely appealing. So I think in this kind of position, it's good to have that as a backup. Because at the moment, the way the bird feeder is set up, there's no fish. And all different dice faces, I can't really have any sort of prospect of re-rolling. But obviously I know, if I can get at least one fish here, and then grab another worm from the bird feeder, and then get a further worm with the gnat catcher, then I should be able to get that down. No problems at all. And, it would be a shame to obviously miss out on the bonus card for the puffin, but again, it's still big points. And yeah, with this end of round goal coming as close as it is right now, that could definitely come into play. So one to monitor for sure. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with those birds that I got there. And so yeah, we can just try and look to get those down throughout the rest of this round. And on to our next turn. My opponent is starting to lay some eggs, which is good. We are going to get some freebies through this cuckoo, which yeah, is going to help not only get some of our birds down, but also with our Oologist bonus card. So here we go. It is time indeed to go for food. So I can start getting some of this food that I need, obviously, for the bunting. And yeah, I am going to have some left over as well there for the ibis. So yeah, obviously, if I can get the bunting down now, and with that cherry in the bird feeder, there is definitely still potential. I could very easily force this puffin down. So I'm going to have to kind of monitor the situation, see, again, like I said, with this end of round goal, that ibis might actually turn out to be the safer, but also, actually more point efficient play. So we'll have to kind of wait and see, like I said, but definitely, yeah, good to start getting some of that food I need. And of course, to be able to play this bunting and yeah, help get that down for this bonus card is really, really good to have. So 3 turns to go. I was kind of hoping there that my opponent was going to lay eggs again. That would have just meant that I could play the bunting now before laying eggs, and then potentially that might help get a bit more food, or maybe I'll start discarding. But yeah, obviously only 1 egg, so I'm going to have to lay eggs first. But it's not the end of the world. I do still obviously have 2 turns here, so that is going to be a 1 turn playing the bunting, and then another turn laying eggs. And yeah, obviously we will have hit the 4 different actions we will have needed to do for the Moltoni's Warbler power. And yeah, we'll be able to get our extra bird played on that end of round. So there we go, my opponent. I think they've basically finished playing birds now. You see they got quite a few of those cavity nests down, so the flycatcher, pretty good play at the end there. But yeah, probably for them 1 final turn with the eggs, which of course is going to give us another freebie. But yeah, for me, like I say, bunting, very, very happy to be getting that down in my time of need. And so yeah, that's the bird bander bonus card, at least the lower threshold hit, which is always very, very nice. So yeah, I got 4 points from that bonus card, and should hopefully be able to max out the Oologist as well for another 6. So 10 points from 2 bonus cards. I think you take that. And of course, we do still have this puffin, which potentially we might still be playing to, gamble on another bonus card and maybe see what we can get. But here we go now, on to our final turn. You see my opponent did indeed lay eggs as expected. And yeah, that has given us that little bit of breathing room we did need for the Oologist. So obviously we have got 5 eggs down. Playing a bird with the Moltoni's Warbler power is going to cost 1. But obviously, if we lay eggs here, we're going to get 5. So that is always nice indeed. So yeah, just for this end of round, obviously checking my opponent, checking myself. I'm only 1 behind on the brown powers. And so that does mean that if I do play this ibis instead of the Atlantic puffin, it's going to be worth an extra 3 points. So that's something to bear in mind. And not only that, but because it's going to cost less food, I'm not going to have to overpay. I do already have the food cost for the ibis. When I lay eggs here, I can discard a food. So you see that is exactly what I'm going to go and do here. So, I kind of weighed up all the options. I thought to myself, if I play the puffin, what kind of bonus cards am I going to be looking at? What's the deficit going to need to be to make up against playing the Ibis? And yeah, as I said, 3 extra points from the end of round and 1 extra point there from being able to discard a food. That effectively means that for the Puffin to be worth playing, you'd need to get a 4-point bonus card. And I did not feel super confident on that. Obviously, I have got a lot of birds down, but 4 points is a lot to be expecting from a bonus card that you had no concept of working towards. So you see, we do go for the safe play, I think, at the end with the Ibis. It ties us. The end of round. And of course, here we go into the final score. So yeah, I did feel good about this one. A slightly kind of strange engine, or lack of engine really, but that's really the strength of the Moltoni's Warbler. And 60 bird points, that's exactly what you're looking for. As I said as well, 10 bonus card points, so got pretty healthy lead there, which we hold on to there through the end of round goals. Obviously, my opponent drags it back slightly with the eggs, and of course some tuck cards at the end, but we do hold on for a pretty strong win. In the end, I think 97 points to 70. And so yeah, as I said, slightly unusual game from my perspective, I think. Definitely the start, the way that kind of played out with the discarding of one of my cards straight away and sort of going for that loon and the turtle dove as well. But I was really happy with this because I managed to make use of the Moltoni's Warbler power in every single round. And that's not something I see often, at least from my own games. Quite often I'll find that I get to that final round and actually I'm better off just laying eggs rather than trying to go for cards and get food and obviously meet the Moltoni's Warbler criteria. But yeah, just the way that played out in that final round with the birds in the tray and the birds I could pick up, definitely made sense to go for that. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed watching that. Thank you for tuning in. And yeah, do consider subscribing to this channel so you can stay up to date with future World Cup gameplay like this.